Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 4.1. So as you can see, we have now kick-started the Kaivalyadhama, the final chapter of Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and it's so exciting to finally deep dive into this penultimate region of the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So let's take a good look at this sutra, start breaking it up step by step, and begin to understand what is being discussed here. At the outset, what is being spoken about are the 5 Siddhis that a particular yoga sadhak develops and how these Siddhis come about. This is being explained to us because in the sutras after this, we're going to talk about the Mahasiddhi that a particular yoga sadhak on the Kaivalya path attains. And just before that, we're going to understand these top 5 Siddhis that Muni Patanjali thought it was important for us to know about. So the sutra itself goes, Janma Aushadhi Mantra Tapa Samadhi Jaha Siddhayaha. Alright, so this is the sutra itself. Now let's start breaking up each of the words and try to understand it a little bit better. The first word that we have been given here is Janma. And Janma, of course, refers to birth. So now what's happening is the first 5 words are the top 5 ways in which Siddhis develop, and so we're being given each of those 5 words one after the other. The first, as we were discussing, is Janma or birth, and we'll discuss even more how this can be a point of Siddhi in the explanation part. So number 1 is Janma. Number 2 is Aushadhi, which refers to medicine. So this refers to certain herbs, drugs, or certain kinds of medicinal property having herbs which can also give a person certain siddhis. So the second is Aushadhi. And it's really interesting because even today in India, in languages like Hindi and Marathi, Aushad is a very commonly used word for medicine. And this is why Aushadhi and Aushad come from the same root word and they're used very commonly even today. Then moving to the next one, we come to mantra. Now mantra is a short and simple word. It's amazing how global this word has become today as we see everybody talking about mantra. But mantra is essentially just a collection of sounds or just even a single syllable that has a powerful meaning and that reverberates with its sound to create a certain impact. So that is mantra. Then coming to the next word is tapa or tapasya. So tapa here is referring to certain austerities or certain very dedicated forms of practice that are undertaken by the yoga sadhak or by anybody on this particular path. So that is tapas or the austerity. And then coming to the 5th one, of course, is Samadhi or the 8th limb of the Ashtanga Yoga series, which basically indicates how Samadhi is one of the causes for a Siddhi to form. And then the final word here is, of course, Siddhi, which refers to perfection, accomplishment, miraculous powers, and is a very common word as well that a lot of people in India have the name Siddhi, so it's very commonly used even today. Now, these are the different words that the sutra is talking about, but let's take a moment to understand what is the sutra saying. So essentially the sutra is saying that the main siddhis are of 5 types and they develop either through birth, through certain medicine or herbs, through the action of a mantra, tapas or samadhi. So these are the top 5 ways in which the Siddhi can develop, and now we're going to deep dive into each of these 5 dimensions and start understanding it a little bit better. So starting off with the first one, which is essentially Janma or birth. So this is really important because it carries forward the theory of Karma Siddhanta or the Karma theory, which indicates that any acts that are performed in the past life those impacts of those acts can be experienced in future lifetimes as well. And so therefore, whatever a person does, whether meritorious or not so meritorious, no matter what the act may have been, it will show up in the next lifetime. So therefore, it is believed that anybody who does a lot of yoga sadhana or practices yoga in their previous lifetimes, they have certain siddhis or certain qualities from that previous life that get carried forward into this new life as well. And so even when they're born and they're of a very young age, they appear to be miraculous. They appear to be people with certain special powers, and people are always astounded. We think that, oh, maybe this quality developed in them at birth. And it's just we say, oh, this person is like this from birth itself. So it's probably that that person has developed a certain amount of effortlessness with that siddhi or that power because of years and years of practice and sadhana in previous lifetimes, which now shows up as effortlessness, but it has some sort of, previous connection and basis to it. So that is how janma or birth can kind of show up with certain siddhis, and many people at birth itself demonstrate certain siddhis, or from a very young age are capable of things that seem miraculous to the common person. So that is number one. Then number two, of course, we come to aushadhi, or the medicinal herbs that we're talking about. Now these, as we know, many different herbs, plants and medicines can have a huge impact in creating a miraculous experience within the human body. Even certain drugs, as we know very commonly, have that experience and that impact when they're ingested or consumed by a human being. And therefore, the science and understanding of herbs and medicines is so important to know which one should be used for what purpose and in what way. Now, specifically here, aushadhi refers to medicinal herbs. So it's talking about something that is used for medical purposes in most cases, and what kind of an impact that has on the yog sadhak or the person that might be, using that medicinal herb or property. And many times we've noticed that somebody who is really, really down and out, unwell, sick, but with the usage of certain herbs and medicines can almost be revived, can be brought back to a healthy state for some period of time. And if their body allows it, they might be able to continue along that journey. And if not, then they may not be able to maintain that impact of the medicinal herb. But usually this is seen that these herbs are able to give these certain miraculous tendencies which we're not able to explain very easily why they're happening, but nevertheless they do show up, and certain medicinal herbs are able to create that sort of an impact. Alright, so that is the medicinal herb. Then coming to the next one, we're talking about mantra. Now mantra, of course, can be really powerful. I think all of us in our modern day lifestyles also have the experience of affirmations. We have the experience of all these different chants and syllables that we can use that eventually, really make us feel empowered and powerful in the right sense of the word. So these mantras are so powerful, not because of the meaning of the sound, but because of the vibration of the sound and the permutation and combination that the sound itself has. And this is something that the Sanskrit language beautifully has brought together in its system of vowels and consonants, and how all of them are arranged to produce a particular impact or sound to have the maximum impact on the person chanting it, thinking it, or even speaking it. So therefore, mantra is really, really important in the accumulation of siddhis which can happen for a person. And it is often said that by chanting the same mantra every single day at the same time, a lot of tapasya or, impact happens through that particular mantra, and that creates certain tendencies in the yog sadhak over a long period of time, which manifest themselves as siddhis as the person goes forward. Alright, so that is mantra. Then coming to the fourth one, we have the tapas, the tapa, or the austerities. And these are, of course, certain practices and ways in which a yog sadhak is focusing upon the path, is undertaking a lot of discipline and tapasya to work towards the goal that he or she might be on. Now, the reason this results in Siddhis is documented across so many different Indian stories and even across the globe. It's often documented that there would be sages and seers just sitting in Padmasana or any other meditative posture, deep in contemplation and meditation, and how staying there for years and months on end led them to attain certain Siddhis and powers just by that practice of deep meditation. Perhaps they were doing Sanyam, perhaps they were doing deeper stages of Sabija Samadhi, but whatever Tapasya they were practicing led them to certain Siddhis that they were able to acquire. So that is number 4. And of course, we also know we've studied Tapasya in the very first initial sutras of chapter 2, where we learned that Tapasya can also be through our yoga sadhana in the practical sense, through asana, pranayama and pratyahara as well. There are different techniques to invoke those elements as Tapasya, but that would require a much longer video. So we're just going to leave it at that. And that is the encapsulation of Tapasya. Then finally, coming to the 5th word over here, we have Samadhi. And this is really important to understand because Samadhi is talking about the process that we were studying in the 8th limb of the Ashtanga Yoga. And this Samadhi process is essentially what leads one to again attaining a lot of Siddhis. Because the minute you are able to do Samadhi and kind of become one with a particular object, you're able to understand that object so deeply that you develop a miraculous power with respect to either that object or subject or whatever it is that you are focusing on. And so Samadhi itself can lead you towards certain Siddhis and certain miraculous powers. So these are the 5 different ways in which Siddhis develop, and this is a really important sutra because it's acquainting us with these ideas of the Siddhis, and it's telling us that in usual circumstances, these are the top 5 ways that a person, can attain Siddhis. However, the yoga sadhak who has now reached Kaivalya goes on into Sutra 4.2 into this path where it's almost like a Mahasiddhi. It doesn't come from any of these top 5 causes, but it comes because of the state of Kaivalya itself. And that is such a miraculous Siddhi that it's even higher and bigger than any of these 5 put together. So in the next sutra, we're going to look at what exactly is that Siddhi that the yoga sadhak in the stage of Kaivalya develops, and how he or she can use that to move forward out of the struggle and the cycle of birth and death into the infinite. So let's take a look at that sutra in the next video. But until then, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Drop your comments, thoughts and suggestions in the comment section below, and also do share this video with your friends and family so they too can learn about yoga philosophy and the Yoga Sutras. At the same time, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we're releasing new videos every single week. Now, we look forward to seeing you in the next video or in our next class, course or workshop. So until then, stay tuned. We're going to see you very soon, and we hope you take care until then. Namaste.